Thank you guys. I don't know about you, but I've been to several since Keith brought this community group back from the dead. So can we just give one more round of applause to everybody? It's a necessary group to have in Boston. I think we get a little bit of a bad rap as a city sometimes. You know, we're biotech, we're analytical, we like tech. I think creative needs a better seat at the table. So our theme is color, and I'm not a designer by trade, if you couldn't tell from my introduction. So I'm going to take a unique angle on the theme. And I'm going to talk about what it is to be different, aka colorful, in an industry or a job function or on a project where everybody just kind of wants the same old, same old. And I think we've all been in that situation before, right? I certainly have. I have a great idea, or I think it's a great idea, or I'm passionate about this new angle we can take on something we always do. And then through some process, it pops out the other end, and it doesn't look anything like the idea you had. It looks like same old gray that everybody else is craving. So I want to dive into that theme a little bit today. But I want to start with a story because of this quote that I heard a few years ago. Stories illuminate commonalities we'd otherwise not see. When I first heard that, I was like, that's the best description of stories I've ever heard. In other words, telling a story to someone is the best way to find commonalities, to find something you didn't know you had in common just by virtue of listening to somebody. So I want to tell a story to start because I think it'll help you guys understand kind of where I'm coming from in my career and for my talk. So what Keith didn't mention is I worked for this company once to start my career that lots and lots of people globally know. It's a great, great company, but because I'm no longer there, I actually get this look and this question a lot. I left Google. I did. I worked for Google to start my career. I was a digital media strategist, which is a fancy name for a person who pretends to have ideas. Basically, for 3 years I advised brands and agencies on how to do their marketing through Google products. And it was a great experience. The perks are great, the food is great, the people are great. So people are like, why the hell did you leave Google? It's Google. If you still work in tech, as I do, that's Mecca, right? Why would I leave? So I want to tell you that story right now. This is my all-time favorite YouTube video. Have you guys seen this before? Kid President's Pep Talk? Okay, so if you haven't seen it, the requirement that you have to in order to like this video is that you are alive. It is the greatest video ever. So please search for it after this talk. Please not now. And I remember when I was at Google, someone sent this to me, and I watched it like 5 or 6 times throughout the day. And I thought, like, this is the single greatest video I've ever seen. It's funny, it's really well done. This kid here, pretends to be the President of the United States, and from a kid's point of view, he proposes how do we run the world, the free world. And it's so refreshing and awesome. I see lots of nods, so it's great that you guys have seen it. So I remember when I saw this at Google, after watching it 5 or 6 times during the day, I went home and I had 3 roommates at the time, and I was like overselling it to them before they saw it. So they got home and I was like, you guys, you have to see this video. It's funny, it's articulate, it's just so well done, it's got a great music track on it, it's awesome. And so they were getting really excited to see this video. And so I put the laptop on the table, I open it up, I go to YouTube, I find the video, I click play, and what happens? Fucking ad popped up, right? Like of course the ad popped up. By the way, this is from the Oatmeal, another great site. I feel like a lot of you guys recognize that too. This has nothing to do with advertising, but I think big brands, when they advertise to us and interrupt our days, sometimes I can picture them in their castle being like, where's your God now? Wanted this video, you got this video. It sucked. It was a frustrating experience because I had oversold this video to my friends. They were really excited. They wanted to see something. I wanted to see something that we were choosing voluntarily, and we got an interruption. And I was frustrated. But then I had another thought that maybe not a lot of people in the world could have had at that moment in time. The first thought I had when I saw the ad pop up was, damn it, Eric. So why did I think, damn it, Eric? Because Eric was my colleague at Google who had sold the ad campaign on YouTube to make this frustrating experience possible with my and my friends' day. Damn it, Eric. I actually recognized his client. Then I had this second really terrible thought, sinking feeling, just knot and pit in the bottom of my stomach, which was, well, I have the same job at Google that Eric does. So somebody somewhere was cursing the name of the person responsible for a frustrating experience in their day. And they didn't know it, but that person was me. Like, that sucked to realize. Can you imagine? And with Google's scale, by the way, that wasn't like one person, right? I was there for 3 years, and Google has such reach, especially on YouTube. That wasn't one person. That was thousands of people. Millions of people could have been angry at the work that I was bringing into the world, right? This isn't some story that like makes sense in a metaphorical way. Literally, we had analytics. I could have pissed off millions of people because my customers were getting millions of impressions for really stuff that they didn't want to see, the audience didn't want to see. That sucked to realize. And so I knew that I was going to leave Google for a lot of reasons. I wanted to build a product. I wanted to create something from scratch. I wanted to learn business from every angle that you can't do that at a big company. But this was just like one singular moment that let me realize, okay, I'm ready to go. And I wanted to build my career more around a different phrase, a different idea, which is this. I want to make stuff people actually want, not try to make people want stuff. Right? And I think this is just good marketing. I'm in marketing. I think this is just good marketing today. Make stuff people actually want. Don't try to make people or force people into wanting what you have to offer. You want to, are we getting photos? I go fast. So this is the thing I wanted to do. And so as I was thinking about leaving before that crystallizing moment, I did a bunch of research and I stumbled on a phrase called content marketing. How many people here have heard this phrase? Okay, 60, 70%, that's pretty good. How many people here, of the people that raise your hand, can actually define what the hell it is? 5%, cool. So content marketing, as defined by the Content Marketing Institute, which is a wonderful organization, is this. Just give me 1 second. The marketing and business process for creating and distributing relevant and valuable content to attract, acquire, and engage a clearly defined and understood target audience with the objective of driving profitable customer action. I read all that stuff and researched this field, and all I came away with was this. I get to make stuff people actually want. This is great, I'm in. Marketing has become creating content, creating media like a publisher to actually attract people to you rather than spamming them and interrupting them and forcing your way in, which, let's face it, doesn't really work anymore. We have too much tech, too many options. People can go around with something they don't want. So I was in. I saw this as like a little beacon of hope in the marketing hope. And lots of brands you guys know do content marketing. So Red Bull is a classic example that a lot of people cite. So they have a whole media house out in their headquarters. And I think at one point, it might still be the case, but on their homepage, you couldn't find a single can. You had no idea what the product was. If you hadn't somehow heard of the brand, if you went to their homepage, you would have thought it was some kind of action sports brand. And when they did the space jump, they created lots of content around it. Videos, graphics, columns, all sorts of stuff. So Red Bull is a good example. Coca-Cola does content marketing. They have this whole whiteboard series where they have somebody animating a whiteboard with narration, describing their whole strategy for the next 20 years, and they're betting it all on creating content, engaging a design community, engaging video producers, creating things people actually want. Intel, they have a blog called IQ. It's an award-winning tech blog, and they don't write about Intel products. They write about the tech world that their audience cares about. So this is a great example, glimpse of the future, the healthcare smartwatch. That's a great piece of writing, great piece of journalism, a great story that's not written by a media company, but it's written by a brand. And one more example, Whole Foods also has their blog called The Whole Story, and they do recipes and advice for living a well-rounded, healthier life. Don't read that blog, though. You should go to Team J&A instead. I'll give you so anyways, I thought, yes, awesome. This is a field I can get into. I'm really excited to stay in business. I do want to stay in marketing because I like selling and building products. I want to do content marketing because all this stuff seemed awesome. And then I started in the career track, and I basically wound up with this. So why did it feel like this instead of the kind of glory of those big brands? Well, it's because I work in what's known as B2B, business-to-business marketing. In other words, every company I've ever worked for has a product they sell, not to everybody, like Red Bull can, but to another business. Marketing software sold to another business. You know, design software sold not to a designer, but a corporation. And B2B marketing historically has been built on one singular idea, which is best practices. I'm sure everybody here has heard this phrase before. It's the right way to do something, best practice. There's a danger when it comes to creating content that best practices pose that aren't really on the table when you do other kinds of marketing. If you buy banner ads or kind of systematize your keyword bidding on Google search to rank for different keywords for your ads, best practices are wonderful. It's the right way to do something. But when the game becomes less of that and more of creating things that stand out, that seem unique, that seem colorful, it's actually just doing what the other guy's doing. That's what best practices become, right? So literally what B2B marketers do is we find one little thing that works. Oh, the data suggests that this approach works. We create blog posts in list format. that works. And we find out, hey, this could work if we do it more. So we do it over and over and over again, and we ruin it. We beat it to death. By the way, favorite slide I've ever created. Like, if you heard me rehearsing this behind like closed doors, sorry. My wife was like, what the hell are you doing? Because I was literally like, like, she already thought I was crazy, that just Okay, so the question becomes, if that's how people think of B2B marketing, best practices, beating one thing over and over and over again until it's ruined, essentially. Like, no one's ever thought, yay, here come the marketers, right? Marketers ruin shit. So the question for me was like, all right, well, how can you prove that being different actually matters? Because I don't want to do the same old. I want to do original, unique, craft-driven work. So this was the question on my mind when I entered this space and realized it was all built on more gray, more same old, same old. So I want to tell you another story which helped me kind of discover how to solve this problem. So Keith mentioned that we work together at Hubspot. Hubspot, for you guys that might not know, they have marketing software. The way they give their sales team leads is they create ebooks. So they'll create a guide about how to do marketing or Facebook or any of that stuff. And they put it behind a form. So for you to download it, it's totally free, but you fill out a form, thus becoming a lead for HubSpot, and you get this awesome piece of knowledge. And so when I was at HubSpot, that approach to driving leads actually started to dry out. It didn't work quite as well. One of my favorite movies of all time. So that was really worrisome for us because we had all this muscle memory on the marketing team of ebook, behind a form, drive traffic to the form. Ebook, ebook, ebook. Best practice, right? We did the marketer thing. We found one thing that worked, and we beat it to absolute death. So again, we were like really worried because this was our entire world was ebooks, right? That's all we did. And the whole marketing team was built to promote ebooks. I would have felt way better back then if this guy was on my team, but he wasn't. So anyways, basically I had teammates come to me and say, Jay, the ebooks that your team is creating, so I led the team behind all the content, the blog, which had 2 million views a month and ran like a media publication, all the long-form content like our ebooks. And I would have teammates come to me, basically saying one of two things to my team. The first was, hey, is it a topic issue? Are people not downloading these anymore because you're writing about the wrong thing? And I would always go to our customer support team and have them tell us and send us information and data about what people cared about in the real world. So like blogging is hard, great, create a resource about how to make blogging easier for businesses. So we were always grounding what we did in the real world. So I didn't think it was a topic issue. The second question I got a lot of was, is it a volume issue? Did we not create enough this month? So when I cite the stats behind HubSpot's content production team to a marketing audience, like jaws literally drop. So lots of businesses struggle to blog once a week. My team is blogging 4 to 8 times every single day. HubSpot has 1,300 and more now long-form ebook type resources in their library. Do you guys know SlideShare.com? See some nods? SlideShare, so you can tell like awesome stories and kind of do really funny things like this in slide format. We have 600 individual slide shares on our account. Go to most marketing companies and they have like 5. So literally to talk to a marketing audience, I have to like use one of those crazy analogies. Like, you ever see a science show where it's astrophysicist numbers and you just can't understand like space? So they have to use a crazy analogy to make sense of it. Like, I needed Neil deGrasse Tyson to come up with me last night to like marketing people to translate the numbers. Like, okay guys, so HubSpot created more content than all the grains of sand in all the year. Oh, okay, I get it. I get how many pieces of content that is as a marketer. I make sense of it now. It's astronomical. So no, I didn't think it was a volume issue that we weren't getting the results. And if you dug into it, it was the best practice syndrome all over again. So searching for free marketing ebook on Google, you get 10.5 million results. It's not unique, it's not special, it's not colorful enough, it's not different. However you want to slice it, it wasn't standing out, didn't feel worthy of an audience member to download it anymore. So you could trip over 1 million free marketing ebooks on your way to work. So no, I didn't think it was a topic issue, I didn't think it was a volume issue. My whole team was convinced of one thing, and it was something that this guy said once. It was the creative, stupid. Like, how obvious should that have been? Of course, if something isn't working because you're beating one thing to death, get more creative, bring better ideas and different ideas to the table. This is from one of my favorite talks that Kevin Spacey has ever given. If you guys go to YouTube and search for Kevin Spacey, Edinburgh, Scotland, and TV, so he gave it at a TV conference, TV industry conference, 40 minutes well spent. It's an amazing talk about what creative means now and in the future in the world of Netflix and things like that. So I was convinced that it was a creative problem. My challenge and my team's challenge was we didn't have a data point to talk to other business people to suggest that, hey, our ideas aren't good enough. We're not emotionally resonating enough. Like, what data point exists to prove that to folks that don't buy into that fluffy, creative stuff? I had to bring together essentially two halves of the business world, two halves of my brain and my team's brain, and kind of communicate in both ways. I didn't choose the path of an artist or even a consultant in design. I chose the path of a marketer in business to drive results. So how do you do that? Well, two things happened that helped our cause. The first thing was that in our ebooks, I put a page like this at the very end. It's a Net Promoter Score survey. You guys heard of the NPS survey? I'm seeing some nods. Basically, it measures sentiment. Brands use this all over the world to measure their brand sentiment with their customers. It's one question. On a scale of 0 to 10, how likely are you to recommend whatever it is, product, brand, content, to a friend or colleague? Measures sentiment. And so you take the top and the bottom, you subtract from the two, and you get a number. So our ebooks came in at a 33. Now, this number is totally meaningless by itself. You need to compare it over time and see how you improve or decline. But for a fun comparison, this 33, so State Farm Life Insurance in 2013 got a 44. Life insurance. So really what that meant was like people were less excited about reading our ebooks than they were about negotiating a monetary value of their own death. Not so good when you want to like resonate emotionally with an audience, right? So that happened, and our executives started to see, oh, that's a data point. I understand that this is actually not a good enough idea. We should switch things up. Around the same time, our director was really frustrated with stock photography, searching for them, reading and decoding this terrible legalese, buying them, and they were all terrible. Like how many people here love dealing with stock photography companies? Nobody. Their NPS would be like negative. So we gave away a package that we ourselves shot. And it was just like office shots and things like that. And we gave them away instead of another ebook. And the downloads on those were astronomically higher than the rest of our ebooks. So these two columns show the stock photo results. This is an actual graph from our data. I just took out the numbers. The low ones were our ebooks. Aha! Now we're all convinced. Whether you're on the creative side or the business side, we were all convinced ebooks are broken, not so good. Let's do things like stock photography or different things. So being in the business world, did we generate a lot of ideas? Did we talk to customers and like figure out what their biggest pain points were? No, like we just went to Google, right? We're like, what are other people doing? What other best practices exist out there? When we searched for creative examples of content in B2B and different phrases like that, it was basically like looking, and our number went up a lot, from a 33 to a 52 with those stock photos. But the results on Google for creative examples were like this. It was a nightmare. People were saying like stupid shit, like do a newsletter, that's creative. Be on social media, that's not actually content. It's not like production, right? That's just a channel. So it was really difficult to find other examples. So when, I had to blow them up so you guys knew what this slide was. It wasn't that obvious. So when the playbook that you're used to running over and over again starts to not really work anymore and you need to do something different, and you can't just see what the other person's doing and port it over to your business, what do you need to accept as an important seat at the table? Creativity. We need to be more creative. We need better ideas. We need to resonate more deeply emotionally with our audience to get them to not just like us, but actually take an action that benefits our bottom line as a business. And when we finally arrived at this conclusion, I was just so freaking relieved. My favorite comic, in addition to the oatmeal, is definitely Calvin House. Okay, and we went on to create some really awesome stuff. So now my team had the runway to do really different things. Packages of buttons and images and icons you could plug into your website. Workbooks that instead of reading a 40-page document, you could actually move through and get more work done. We did marketing trivia games, an app to generate better ideas for your blog, a template series where you could just upload your design and your copy, and it was already formatted to appear beautifully on social. Awesome, way different than everyone else's content, which was ebook after ebook. But why didn't they just trust me up front that it was creative, right? Like my team was like, it is a creative problem, and there were other people that maybe disagreed a little bit. I didn't look like this at the time, so that's probably why they didn't trust that this, but how could they not trust that it was a creative problem? It seems obvious probably to lots of you guys that if you do the same damn thing over and over again, mix it up. It wasn't so obvious in a business setting. Well, it's just because marketers value these things. Predictability, safe bets, best practices. Now, not HubSpot marketers, those guys are actually really creative, but my industry. A lot of those different B2B marketers think about stuffy, predictable, safe things they can do. Not like the Whole Foods and the Cokes of the world that I showed at first. So my question became, why don't I? Like, why was I so prone to not doing what everyone else was doing? And I think like anything, it's a product of your perspective in life. It's the experiences and the sum of those parts that kind of give you the ability to do something a little bit different and be confident in that, and not need necessarily like a data point. You can just lead with intuition because of what you've experienced. And so there were 3 things that helped me get there. The first was my family. So I'm from a big Italian family. This doesn't even begin to describe the number of people that I see every holiday. And they taught me a number of really, I think, powerful things that I'm grateful for. The first is that if you create for others, that brings them joy, and in turn brings you joy. So food in an Italian family is the exact example of that, right? You're cooking not necessarily for yourself, although you might love it. I'm cooking to feed you. I bring over one friend. When I was growing up, my mom would put like a banquet out on the table. That's just how she was. So they taught me that. So in the venture capital industry, lots of investors and startups want to be very theoretical and appear like thought leaders and kind of future-thinking people. So they write stuff like finding the next Facebook, Facebook versus Twitter. That's great, but that's for them, right? That's ego stroking. What I wanted to do was something like this. Let's give away a template of board decks. Here's the best way to create a board deck that you can customize the design and add your brand colors and all that stuff. And that was the single most downloaded piece my firm has ever created, because it's just for the other person. It brought them joy and utility, and it helped them. The other thing that my family taught me was that being intrinsically motivated will trump anything you do if the goal is an end result. Rather than focus on just the end result and how can we get there like so many businesses do, if you focus on, if you're writing a blog post, the paragraphs, the process, actually giving credence to good creative approaches, then the end result will be better if you just give it a little bit of time. So I used to keep a journal and write, and obviously like my grades went up, and I dabbled in sports journals and things like that. So in the business world, the way this plays out is something like this. Businesses think we need page views. Lists generate page views. So if the topic is how to network, let's just do a bunch of lists. And all these posts are just crap or the same. Why would you read them? So Keith and I talked about networking in Boston, how important it is. We both run community groups, and so we decided it would just be fun for us to do the Hitchhiker's Guide to Boston Tech, which launches next week. Just everything you need with a lot of design, a lot of really interesting information, right? We're doing it because it's fun for us, but I'm learning new skills by doing this. But I guarantee you it's going to be better. This is the entirety of the site right now. It's a splash page. We've gotten 250 people to say, yeah, I'll give you my email so I can get it in my inbox when it launches. And I think it's going to be better because we're just excited about it. Then the last thing my family taught me is being silly and weird is not something to avoid, it's something to seek out and accept. So this is at my wedding last year. My sister and my 2 cousins, we were reenacting a photo we had when we were kids where we dressed up in like colonial clothing for some reason. And like, the photos they had to burn the powder, the cameras they used to have back then. So we were all very serious because that's how they took photos. I don't know. So it's just weird, right? But we like that. We embrace it. When I was a kid, my parents would find drawings like this all the time where I would draw monsters. I would just take animal parts and like stick them together. And then I was like describing like head of an ostrich, wings of eagle. Like my favorite part of this drawing, by the way. To Dad, love Jason. Like it's a sweet little thing that I did for my father, right? But to their credit, they made me feel that way. That was like them saying, this is actually something that is worthy of giving your dad with love. Like kudos to them. I couldn't be where I am without them. So in the business world, boring, right? Twitter for, like if you want to talk about how to behave on Twitter, you're just going to present the facts if you're a business blogger in many cases. Right? Boring, same old, dry facts presented. Every one of these posts says that Twitter is the cocktail party of the internet. Behave on Twitter like you would at a cocktail party. Is it? Like, have you ever seen how we all interact with each other on Twitter? It's weird. So I was like, okay, I'll write about that. So I have this personal blog called Sorry for Marketing, and I wrote this headline: all the weird things business people do on Twitter. Literally the most read post I've ever created. And I was like taking all the stuff that are all the things that are super common on Twitter and just writing about how ridiculous they would be at an actual cocktail party. And I did these little sketch drawings and tried to recreate the days when I would draw like animal monsters. So I would cover all the things that we accept online but would be weird offline. Like following you. Totally acceptable on Twitter. Really weird at a cocktail party. Or asking for things way too soon before you actually get to know somebody. Totally acceptable on Twitter, or at least common. Hey, nice to interact with you. Thanks for sharing that. Can we meet for coffee sometime? I'm like, who are you? I don't know who you are. Not acceptable at a cocktail party. The other thing, besides my family, that kind of gave me this perspective, I think, to just zig a little bit when everyone's zagging, was I wanted to be a sports writer growing up. I was dead set on that field. I won a scholarship for it. I worked at ESPN for an internship and a couple different print newspapers, which being in digital tech is bizarre but kind of awesome. And this taught me a lot of things that maybe you don't have if you grow up focusing on just marketing. So audiences want actual opinions and personality, right? They don't just want presentation of facts. They want to know who you are as a person. They want a strong stance. All these gentlemen have built huge careers on that. So in the business world, if you're going to talk about email marketing, lots of companies, how to do email marketing. A beginner's guide to email marketing. Over and over and over again until they beat it to death, and it's just noise. It's just red. So at Hubspot, I was tasked with writing a post on email marketing. Instead of writing about how to do email marketing, I wrote about the 6 horrific practices of direct mail and what email marketers do better. And I took screenshots of these terrible, you ever get this from your bank? Time-sensitive account information, and you open it up and it's just like this color-coded promotion. It's not actually about your account. Like, that pisses me off all the time. It's terrible marketing. So I was like, what's right about that? I feel strongly in the real world, port it online. Marketers sometimes are scared of doing that. To HubSpot's credit, they're not. And the problem is lots of businesses face blowback. So like some guy did write a response to mine about all the things that I got wrong. It was this John Lovitz-y kind of guy here who wrote the response. And I was on his site for 5 seconds and then this popped up. So like he's making the world a better place with that ad. Thanks, guys. Okay, the other thing that sports writing taught me is that audiences want emotion. You can't tell I'm a very emotional, excitable guy, so this was fine for me. Rick Riley used to write columns for Sports Illustrated on the human experience and how it came through in sports. Very moving stuff. This video was a montage that ESPN created in 2000 about the last 100 years in sports, set to Aerosmith's Dream On. It was an amazingly moving video. When was the last time you were this excited about anything? Think about it, like throwing your arms and head back and like screaming. Everybody in the audience is doing the same exact thing because we as humans crave emotion. We want to let it out, right? Businesses are sometimes really stuffy in B2B marketing. So, same old, here's what a business podcast looks like. Intro music, some little ditty that sounds like it was a terrible Apple commercial. Hi from the host, I'm so-and-so, here's 17 minutes of my bio. Interview with the guest, goodbye from the host, and then outro music, same as the beginning. Every business podcast. I've always wanted to learn how to podcast. I'm still trying to figure out how good or bad I am at it, but I launched a podcast called Tech It Forward recently. We cover Boston area founders of nonprofits and tech companies. And I love NPR, love Radiolab and things like that. So I'm like, let's pull in some of that emotional stuff, music, narration. If anybody's in a band or has friends in a band, I want to use Boston-specific music in that, so please approach me afterwards. And Keith is on episode 2, that's why I put it there. We get too much stuff together.
Too much is weird.
This is really, it's getting
serious.
Anyways, emotion, people want it. In a business setting, if there's an awkward part of the story, the storyteller feels awkward, most businesses will say, you know, just, that's a great story. I want to like pause the music, pause the audio, and make you feel awkward too, right? If I had a business style editor, they would be like, oh, can you chop that off? I felt weird, right? They didn't represent our brand well. It's like making me feel sad. Well, the storyteller feels sad, so you should feel fucking sad too. Sorry, Mom. All right, side projects. This is the last area. Side projects also taught me a lot about how to maybe step out of your comfort zone and be a little bit more different and unique when everybody wants same old stuff. So how many people here have done ever in their professional career a side project for $0? Every hand should be up. And if you haven't ever done it, please, more side project for all. It only improves what you do. So I read this book not too long ago called The Accidental Creative. It's about how to structure your day, generate ideas, that kind of thing. This was a quote that stuck out with me. Making is a muscle, and that muscle needs to be worked out. In the business world, the way that, a lot of marketers, I'm not talking about my employers, I'm talking about the industry, they'll go home and the way they work out or take on side projects is they just do more of their work. They check email incessantly and they just follow the clients. They don't do anything new and different. But side projects for me have been instrumental in getting me to where I am today. So I launched a blog in 2005 about sports that helped me get a job at Google. I moved to Boston in 2008, and I'm a Yankees fan, so I wrote the Cranky Yankee Fan blog. 12 readers on that one. That's Boston. Blog Don't Lie. I wrote a sports blog about sports bloggers. That was just very weird. I had a Tumblr for a little while. I had my community group with Aristio Boston Content, the Sorry for Marketing blog that I still write and start on, and then the podcast. Some of this stuff, some of it was good. I hope more the latter, but the point is it's my gym, right? I'm working out. I'm trying to get better, and I think a lot of you guys embrace that too, which is awesome. Okay, last point. underneath side projects is that teaching is powerful. When I write something, if it's for me and I'm snarking, that's great and funny and people might share it. But if I say, like, here's how to do something in your day, and I present it with emotion and personality, that's the best of both worlds, right? Like, you're liking the story, it's resonating emotionally, but you're also coming away with something you can go do, something tangible. Business leaders don't always think like that, so at a lot of marketing conferences, you'll see stuff like this. An inspirational image and something just totally meaningless. And blogs are the catalyst to inspire customers to take action on your behalf. What the hell does that mean? Like, I have no clue what the hell that's trying to say. So when I give a talk, sometimes I like doing stuff that seems kind of boring. It's just like, here's a playbook, and I'll have one of these appear at a time, and I'll lead you through like a process of how to go work. And it's not very tweetable, it's not very quotable, but hopefully when you go back and sit down at your desk, you can do better work. I'd rather teach than preach. All right, so I want to leave you with this along those lines. The 5 lessons that kind of have come through all these experiences for me, in me like constantly agonizing over trying to be a little different when everyone's doing the same way. So the first lesson is that if you lead with creative and course correct with data, everything gets better. A lot of businesses want to look at the past data and say like, this worked, do it again, right? Well, the problem with that is you get stuck just looking backwards instead of ahead. So if you can help your clients, your companies, whatever, think about new ideas and say, we're going to use some data to make sure this idea sticks. I know you're scared it's a new idea. We're going to measure how it's doing. We're going to talk to a few people up front and get validation. Lead with creative, course correct with data. The second is be subversive and sneaky. Don't always be a rebel. I think lots of people here, myself included, say, to hell with that, I'm doing this. Don't care what anyone thinks. It's really easy to get your kind of like, I almost said something really bad there, but it's really easy to get your undergarments in a ball when you want to just say, I don't like that, I like this, and run in the other direction, right? Instead, think about the other person you're working with, colleague, client, whomever. What do they care about? How do you use that to your own advantage? The data point in my ebooks kind of speaks to that. I felt like I was in their world, and I was like speaking their language, and then they saw my point of view. So don't always just be a rebel. Play the long game, everybody else plays short, especially in business, but I think really in anything, this is just another way of saying, give it in, right? Care. Because if you care about who you're actually serving, which yes is your client, but it's really the audience that client serves, the customer, whomever, if you care for your craft, you will actually be different than the rest of the world, which is kind of sad, but it's true. The fourth, learn from best practices. I've talked a lot about how bad they can be, but you need to learn from them, because they do work, right? Someone else did something and wrote about it as this works. Learn from that. But when you go to execute, put a unique spin on it. So don't just execute best practices, execute a unique practice informed by all the things that other people are doing. And the fifth and final, if you take nothing away from this presentation, this is the most important lesson to me. Always be yourself. Unless you can be Batman, then always be Batman. So thanks so much for listening, guys. I'm out of time.
We have. You want to do it over here? Or this?
No, this is just
right.
How you reach me.
All right. If we have a little bit of time for Q&A, if anyone is interested, if you need to run, we started late. Don't feel bad. Just go ahead and get out quickly. But yeah, I'll leave it to you guys. Raise your hand. Jay will call if you're interested.